You know, every single day, right across the UK, there's this invisible army on the move. They're not soldiers, but they are fighting a daily battle against the clock, delivering life-saving supplies that our hospitals desperately need. They are an absolutely indispensable lifeline for the National Health Service, a grassroots movement of volunteer motorcyclists. And this is the incredible story of the Blood Bikes.
And their impact today? It's just staggering. These volunteer groups all working together save the NHS millions of pounds every single year. That's money that gets plowed right back into frontline patient care instead of being spent on private couriers. But this highly professional, nationwide service, well, it didn't just appear out of nowhere.
So that begs the question, right? How on earth did this massive professional operation even begin? To really get a handle on its power today, we've got to go back, way back to its truly humble, grassroots origins.
All right, let's wind the clock back to the very beginning, to meet the original pioneers who first decided to combine their passion for bikes with a powerful sense of duty to their community.
So the very first spark? That came in 1962. A woman named Margaret Ryerson, along with her husband, started the emergency volunteer service down in Surrey. Then, just a few years later, in 1969, a guy named Des Gibbons took that idea and ran with it, forming a youth group called the Freewheelers. Now, while a lot of these early groups eventually disappeared, they absolutely lit a fire, passing the torch to groups like the Yeovil Freewheelers, who are, incredibly, still operating today.
And what's so fascinating here is that they had this dual mission. Of course, the main goal was practical, provide a totally free delivery service for local hospitals. But they also had this other really important goal, to change the public's perception of motorcyclists, to fight back against those negative stereotypes and prove how valuable they were to the community.
But, and this is a huge but, getting this service off the ground came at a massive personal price for these early volunteers. This wasn't some slick, well-funded operation, no way. It was built on pure, unadulterated sacrifice.
First off, let's talk about the bikes. There was no fancy fleet of dedicated motorcycles. These pioneers were using their own personal bikes, putting their own prized possessions on the line for every single urgent run.
And then you've got to think about the running costs. Every last drop of fuel, every single repair, every oil change. I mean, this was all coming straight out of their own pockets. They were personally bankrolling the fuel that kept this life-saving service moving. And maybe most important of all, their time. It was a total gift. They weren't paid a penny for the countless hours they spent riding through the night in rain, sleet, or snow just to make sure those urgent medical supplies got where they needed to be.
So for decades, you had all these little groups doing their own thing, operating independently. But to really have the massive impact we see today, they needed to connect. Let's look at how this scattered collection of charities grew into the powerful national network it is today.
Well, the big turning point? That happened in 2008. Representatives from the handful of groups that were active back then all got together. They met up to share what they'd learned, to compare notes, and basically to draw up a blueprint for a service that could work across the entire nation.
And the result of that one meeting? Well, you can see it right here on this chart. The whole movement just exploded. From only 5 groups operating in 2008, the network ballooned to over 40 active groups in just over a decade. I mean, that's just an absolutely incredible expansion.
This massive growth was built on becoming seriously professional. It happened in a few key stages. First up, they formed a nationwide Association of Blood Bikes, or NAB. This created an umbrella organization to set really high standards for everyone. Next, they leveled up the training. Now riders need top-tier qualifications from places like the Institute of Advanced Motorists. And finally, they started winning major battles in government, securing VAT recovery in 2015, and then official emergency vehicle tax status in 2020.
Okay, so they've got this new professional structure. What does that actually mean for their impact on the ground? Let's take a look at the incredible collective power they have today.
So what does all that look like in practice? Get ready for this number. In 2023 alone, the whole network completed over 151,000 individual jobs for the NHS. Just think about that. That's a life-saving delivery being completed somewhere in the country every 3.5 minutes.
And here's why that is such a huge deal. You can think of it as a kind of multiplier effect. A donation from the public keeps the bikes maintained and fueled. A volunteer then makes a run that costs the NHS absolutely nothing. The NHS then saves the money it would have spent on a taxi or commercial courier, and every penny of that saving goes straight back into caring for patients. It's brilliant.
But it's not just about saving money. Not by a long shot. Every single one of those thousands of runs has a direct and often literally life-saving clinical benefit for patients all over the country.
Yeah, we're way beyond simple logistics here. We're talking about real, critical clinical impact. Just imagine an air ambulance at a roadside accident. The blood bike is there too, delivering a special golden hour blood box that makes a life-saving transfusion possible right there on the spot. Or picture a premature baby in an intensive care unit receiving vital donor breast milk that's been carefully transported by a volunteer. Or just think of a worried family waiting for test results, a wait that's made shorter because a blood biker rushed those samples to the lab.
So who are the people doing all this incredible work? Well, today, the movement is powered by more than 3,000 dedicated volunteers. These are people from all walks of life. We're talking pilots, paramedics, builders, you name it, all giving their time for free.
And, their reasons for doing it, they're often incredibly personal. Take Russ, a blood biker who put it perfectly. He said, "I joined after surviving a severe accident that required multiple blood transfusions. It's my way of giving back." It's that powerful desire to repay a debt of gratitude that really fuels this entire movement.
From Margaret Ryerson's little idea back in 1962 to this massive professional network that we see today, the Blood Bike story is just amazing proof that volunteers can provide expert, high-stakes services. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other quiet, determined acts of community service are happening right now under the radar, shaping our future in ways we can't even see yet?